Really? Why sit on the racing line?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round 5 of the Australian Endurance eChampionship, brought to you live by FGMeCast. I'm your host for tonight, Stuart Brown, and as always, bringing you the very best in GTE and GT3 racing live tonight from Spa. A fantastic circuit for us to be bringing you some racing from tonight. So we at this stage looking at about 8.5 minutes to go. We've got some very, very close competition for tonight in terms of where the drivers sit in the championship. So this race is going to be extremely hotly contested. Just to give you an update with the GTE category, we've got 1 point between Chris Purnell and Jesse Butler, who, if you've been watching the stream over the last couple of weeks, have brought us some extremely close racing, well and truly within half a second of one another for a majority of the last two races, and without trading paint or anything like that. So there's Chris Purnell on top of the GTE field at 111 points, Jesse Butler at 110. And then we've got Ron Polito and Braden Nash sitting equal on 84 points. Brett Douglas just behind them on 82. So a very close field at the top of the GTE class there to decide how they'll head into the dual driver races at the Nürburgring and Bathurst over the next 2 weeks. And what position they'll get that into. Followed by the GT3 category, where Brad Klink does have a pretty comfortable 28-point lead at the top of that championship, but it gets tight from there. Dave Johnson in second, captain consistency, scoring points at every single round so far, has him in that position. And then again, Jager Pascoe on 78, Henry Thomas Kirker, or TK as we call him, on 76, and then Ryan Porter also on 76 points. So the placings in both classes are going to be interesting to see how they play out. So about 7 minutes to go in qualifying. Look, excuse me, a circuit that doesn't really need a lot of introduction, Spa. It's located in Belgium. Does host the Formula One Grand Prix and has done pretty much every year since 1983. We've got the Spa 24-hour race, which would have been held in real life there this weekend. Obviously not taking place due to coronavirus, but there is the virtual Spa 24-hour happening this weekend. So a lot of these drivers will be participating in that and certainly using this event as a warm-up for that. So we'll see how they go. Some of them not driving the cars they were driving this weekend. That race is just GT3 cars only. But I know a lot of the guys are using this as a warm-up for that event that starts at around about 12 o'clock on Saturday, 12 o'clock lunchtime Saturday. We will be streaming that event from our channel as our team 981 Motorsport does participate in that. So if you're looking to follow our team along there, jump onto our socials and you will be able to follow us there. Despite its name, Spa doesn't actually lie in Spa. It's in the vicinity of the township of Francorchamps, and sort of goes into another couple of municipalities as well. So current lap record here is held by last week's F1 race winner, Valtteri Bottas. The circuit itself has undergone a number of changes over its life to be in the modern format as we race it today. So really what we're looking for here, as usual, is consistency. So we'll just have a quick look through the list at the moment. We've got a couple of new drivers joining us this week, including in both categories, the GTE and GT3 classes. You'll get your usual dual camera setup from us during the race. So we're going to have another window down on the right hand corner as you look at the screen, which will bring you coverage of the GT3 class as well, so you can keep up to date. We do switch it around a little bit as we get through the coverage, so do look out for that. the key corners on this circuit, you're looking really at turn 3, 4, and 5, otherwise known as En Rouge, which is a really fast section of the track at the end of the start straight. Heading up towards the end of that straight, there is a tighter section of the track which will present passing opportunities for the drivers. And then really, it's a high-paced, good-flowing circuit. You can bet your bottom dollar that drafting will come into play here. And that down into the last couple of turns, there will be some braking manoeuvres for passing. Particularly through, as you go through this section of the track now, the guys are coming up to what we will call the bus stop, and basically get to the end of an extremely fast part of the track and jump right on the anchors there, as you can see Brad Klink doing that to slow himself down. My apologies, we're following along with Lee Vandenberg, who rejoins us after a few weeks of absence, and as always extremely quick in his Ferrari. On screen at the moment, Jaden Sweeney. He is currently sitting in 10th overall in the qualifying for the GTE category. Our fastest lap so far tonight is Braden Nash, who has done a 13.25. So he has well and truly laid down a fast lap there, just under 3/4 of a second faster than Jesse Butler. Lee Vandenberg in third, with a high 13 in a 13.96, and then we jump into the 14s with Chris Purnell and Brett Douglas, along with Jeff Thompson, or Tomo as we call him, and Polito. At the front of the GT3s, we've got Spud Gibson, who is a new driver to the series. Welcome, Spud. Along with Reese Grant, another new driver to the series. Welcome into the series, Reese. So, two guys getting in extraordinarily quickly and making their way right to the top of the leaderboard. So, Jason Vincent Muscat, or we'll just call him the Musk Stick, has joined the series as well. So, welcome to him and Todd Gibson. So, a lot of new drivers joining the field in preparation for next week's dual driver races at or starting at the Nürburgring and at Bathurst the week after to finalise our series. So we've just got 1:44 to go. Braden Nash has got a purple sector 4, so he may well improve on his fastest lap. He's just finished the lap there, and yeah, he has. So he's done a 2:13.25. Just to extend his lead at the top of the qualifying settings there. Jesse Butler is in pit lane as we speak. He's in his Porsche. Lee Vandenberg is out on the track trying to improve his fastest time as he comes around to complete that lap. Does have a purple sector in it, so he may well go faster and move himself up into second place there. And no, he hasn't managed to get that done, so he will remain in third. We do have Chris Purnell out on a flying lap as well, trying to improve his starting position of 4th on the grid. No purple sectors there for Chris, so it'll may well be that he doesn't improve on his overall lap time, but we'll just stick with him here and see what he does. Braden Nash is still circulating around the track at this point in time, probably just to make sure, if he needs to, that he can get through and do that last flying lap that he'll need to do. And Purnell's pulled out a lap there and pulled off the track, so that will be it for him. He will not get around again for another flying lap. And back on board with Braden Nash, who looks like he is going to go quicker again with 2 purple sectors in this lap. So just watching to see if he can drop that 13.247 that he's done down any lower, and maybe even crack into the 2.12s, which would be extraordinary. Braden drove away with things last week. He's our first multiple race winner in the series, and ever actually, as this is our first season of this series. It's coming through the fast section of the track. You are in the chat there, give us a shout out, let us know where you're from and joining us tonight, and be fantastic to have a chat with you as we get through the next 2 hours. Great to see people joining us on Twitch, our YouTube channel, and on Facebook. Thanks for giving us your time on a Thursday night. So Braden Nash there has managed to improve his lap time by a 10th. We're finished now. Just looking for anyone else still out on the track. Lee Vandenberg still is out on the track there, just coming around through bus stop to see if he can improve on that. He's only 0.05 of a second off second place there, but that lap not improving his qualifying position. Brett Douglas in the other VMM, or Virtual Motorsport Mentor car, still out on track, trying to improve his qualifying position. Looks like Spud Gibson's taken out the GT3 class, but we will bring you a grid update as we go to grid up for the start of the race. So just follow around with Brett there. The car looks like it's sliding a little bit, but these things will be very light. There'll be no fuel in them as they're doing a qualifying run. Literally enough just to keep the car out on the track. So he's coming down into bus stop here. Doesn't look like he's done any improved sectors at all. So he will come across the line and complete the lap in a 2:15.02. So no improvement there for Brett either. There's Andre Cortez. Welcome back, Andre. He's had a couple of weeks out. Comes back into the series and finishes his lap. So the race is gridding up. We'll jump in, bring you our grid for this evening. So I'll just turn that thing off at the top there so you can see what's going on. And this hasn't updated, unfortunately. Let's get that just fixed up for you there. All right, so we've got Braden Nash who's taken out pole position tonight, and he will lead us through our start. Just jump on board with Braden there. Jesse Butler in second, with Lee Vandenberg in third, followed by Purnell and Douglas in fourth and fifth. Tomo in sixth, Polito in seventh, Reynolds in eighth, Phil Polito in ninth, Jaden Sweeney in 10th. First of our GTE cars in GT3 cars in Spud Gibson in 11th, with Reese Grant in 12th. So these guys will grid up in category there. I'm not too sure what's going on. It should have separated the classes there. It hasn't quite done that. We'll keep working our way back down through the grid here as we get into our GT3 guys. Michael Spithill 13th, Klink in 14th, TK 15th, Reese Ashmore in 16th, Porter 17th, Muscat in 18th, with Todd Gibson in 19th, Johnson 20th, Andre Cortez 21st, Josh Maynard in 22nd, and Luke Kemi, who didn't set a qualifying time, in 23rd. So what will happen here as the drivers head around is we will end up with a gap between our GTE and our GT3 cars, and we do that deliberately so that the faster cars do get a little bit of a break on the rest of the field. The GTE cars, my apologies, are under the control of the pole sitter, which is Braden Nash on the right of screen as you're looking at it in the Phoenix window tinting Porsche. And then the GT3 cars will go as the race begins. They will cross the start-finish line, and that will be their control for the start of the race. We'll just hold with the GT3s there, and we'll bring up that second screen as we do go live and go racing. So we're going to have the Porsche of Braden Nash taking us around for the first lap of this race. And we'll just switch back to the GT3s. And we are off and racing with the second group of cars as well. So just try and jump on here with the leader as they head around. And there we go there. So you can see they're off and racing as well in the GT3 class. As Braden Nash will lead us around for the first lap of this category. As the GTEs get underway in the bottom screen there, and it is Spud Gibson taking them off and around for their first lap as they head up through En Rouge onto the back straight, and Braden Nash has certainly head off and is running with our GT3 cars. So just bring that ticker up across the top there for you, which will give you the coverage of what's going on. You've got the GT3 category in the bottom right-hand corner and your GTE class in the top screen. And there's no doubt here that Nash is trying to cut and run, and Jesse Butler's trying to go with him as well. So Reese Grant has taken the lead in the GT3 category, so welcome to Reese. He is a new driver of the series and he is equally trying to cut and run. You can see there's a huge line of cars in the GT3 category all bunched up together. Unfortunately there, and as we've had a slide as well, we've had someone go off in the GT3 category with their cold tyres on their first lap. So Braden Nash is going to bring us around through the bus stop here and we'll complete the first lap of our race. As he goes across the start-finish line there to register the first lap. A 1:58.78 standing lap, so that's a good start from him. The field started to spread out a little bit, and that's what these guys will be worried about, is literally just getting through these first few laps so that they're able to make their way into the strategy that they're going to deploy as they try and navigate through the first hour. We will bring you a rundown of the grid as soon as things settle down a little bit, so do stay tuned for that. I'll say it a heap tonight. The last couple of weeks, generally we have an intermission at the middle of the race, and I haven't actually managed to even get close to having that because for the first hour and a half it's been an absolute sprint race. So we'll see how we go this week, whether or not that happens. I don't mind not getting it when the racing's as good as it has been. So we'll see how this progresses. I have provisioned myself up just in case it doesn't happen. Okay, so things are starting to settle down a little bit. We've got around about a second gap between, or just under a second gap between our pole sitter Braden Nash and Jesse Butler, and then back another second to Lee Vandenberg. Chris Purnell and Brett Douglas in the two AE... my apologies, the two Virtual Motorsport Mentor sponsored Fords back in 4th and 5th. Tomo in 6th with Polito in 7th, Wade Reynolds in 8th, Jaden Sweeney up one position in 9th and Phil Polito in 10th. Rounding out the GTEs is Reese Ashmore, who didn't set a qualifying lap, down there in 11th. Reese Grant, Michael Spithill first and second in the GTE category, and they are running away a little bit at the moment. Already a second out over Ryan Porter in 3rd, TK in 4th, Brad Klink in 5th. Brad's got a new computer that he has built, and I know he's had some setup issues there, so we're glad to see that he made the grid and can continue to try and defend his lead in this championship to take out our GT3 category for the first time. Todd Gibson, who joins the grid in 6th. Dave Johnson, captain consistency in 7th. I know he had a small issue at the start of the race. Jason Vincent Muscat, or the Musk Stick, joining us in an Audi in 8th position. Spud Gibson in 9th, who had an off early in the race. Murdoch in 10th, Kimi in 11th, and Andre Cortez rounding it out in 12th place there. Missing a couple of the usuals. Jager Pascoe is not with us tonight, which is unfortunate. So Jaeger, wherever we are, shout out to you, mate, and hopefully we'll see you back for the Enduros next week. So Braden Nash still leading this one. Fastest lap of the race. He's done a scorching 2:14.44. The drivers are going to have to be careful here. This track is very difficult in terms of it's known for what's called an off-track in iRacing, so which is basically when you exceed the track limits, and you can pick them up anywhere here. It's almost like speeding tickets. So they need to be careful to make sure that they're not triggering too many of those off tracks as we get through the race. A couple of firsts here for us tonight as well. This is our first race that will end in the dark. So we did that as a little bit of a favour to the drivers as well, with most of them running in the Spa 24-hour at the end of the week on Saturday at around about 12. Obviously that being a 24-hour, it goes without saying that you do drive in the night there. So this will give these drivers some practice at that. Interestingly enough, you'd probably think that it means that they would go slower, but they don't. At night, generally, the cars get quicker, the cooler temperatures help, and the drivers see less in terms of walls and things like that. So generally, you'll find that the lap times will be a little bit quicker at night. So, sorry about the crossover there with the camera. It just caught us out a little bit on the angles. We've been doing a bit of work on the camera angles this week in the lead up to our Nürburgring race next week, as well as Bathurst, to try and bring you some more unique camera angles as we develop our channel and develop our coverage. So watching on Twitch, would be fantastic if you could give the channel a follow, and same on Facebook. If you're watching, just give us a follow there. That'd be amazing. We'd really appreciate it as we try to grow our channel. So Braden Nash still in control of this one. He's opened up about a 2-second gap over Jesse Butler, with Lee Vandenberg just closing in on the back of Jesse's car there. So as usual, just try and bring you the action where we can. So what I'm going to do actually is jump on with Lee Vandenberg here. A welcome back to him after an absence of a couple of weeks. We're going to jump on board with him on the nose of that car just to see if we can have a look at how far away he is from Jesse Butler in front of him. And as usual, iRacing have done us a few favours this week. There's a few more updates that have gone through. So with changes to basically the Porsche, did have a couple of changes made to it overnight. So hopefully not affecting the setup of these guys too much. A lot of our guys spend hours, and I do literally mean hours, working on the setup for these cars. So I know a couple of drivers probably spend anywhere between 5 to 8 hours setting up a car for a particular event, trying to squeeze as much performance out of it as they can. In doing that, that's where you can see, the guys right at the front of the field definitely have a slight advantage in getting themselves up and around. Might even jump in car with him here and just see this section of the track. This is just a fantastic part of the track to drive. I'll just drop him down a bit there as he overtakes the volume in the commentary box. But it's a fantastic part of the track to drive on. Really quick, fast-flowing section. And down here was where we were talking about. So this is considered, what have we got there? Turn 3, 4 and 5, would have got 6 and 7 and 8 is going to be a really good spot for these guys to make a pass. So long sweeping right-hander here. You've got to be really, really patient on the throttle as you come around and then jump on it. And here you've just got a little dab on the brake to get the car to turn in, and off she goes again. It's got some really good, long, fast-flowing corners. So again, here another one where you just tap on the brake. You've got to get the car right over to the inside and then drift it wide, and you're back on the throttle again before another chicane as you head down. And the sun here is a killer, so there's going to be a bit of glare for the guys as that sun continues to fall, and we do descend into night. So a couple of things to look out for when we do get into night. You'll be able to see, obviously there's going to be a lot of lights, as you'd expect, but you can see there, particularly if you're looking, we'll just bring it up on the main screen. As you can see there, Chris Purnell just chasing down Lee Vandenberg to try and get himself up into 4th. But you will be able to see that there's the lights on the sides of the car there as we're looking at Lee's car, and plenty of lights on the front and back. I don't believe so. The car number used to light up as well, but I'm not sure that iRacing have that function. This battle's really closing up here as well, which is 3 talented drivers, so it's going to be on, which is what we've been waiting for, particularly the battle between Purnell and Butler. Just there's a pass on there, Lee Vandenberg and Chris Purnell getting through there, so that moves Chris Purnell up into 3rd spot, and we're just going to stick with the Butler Porsche in your small window there, just to give you an idea on how quickly the Purnell Falcon, wow, the Purnell GT is catching up to that Porsche as he looks to pursue Jesse to defend his 1-point championship lead at the front of this category. This is literally where the bread gets toasted in this part of it here. Braden Nash has cleared out again, which is just exceptional. He's already 5 seconds up the road from this battle. We did speak about it last week, and I want to touch on it again. So Jesse Butler has basically got as basic a setup as you can get as far as sim racing goes. So in sim racing, if you've not done it before, sim racing, it's all about pedals are probably the most important thing. Then followed by the visual aspect of it. So whether you're running a triple monitor setup, which a lot of the guys do, which gives you peripheral vision, or if you're running an Oculus Rift or VR, which again, I know Chris Purnell, who's behind Jesse here, does run, to give yourself that immersion or that experience within the car. Jesse literally runs an office chair with a steering wheel and like very basic and old steering wheel and pedals, and a single small, what looks like from the photos I saw, 21 or 24 inch monitor. And even with that, he is consistently one of the quickest guys in the field and one of the cleanest and most consistent racers as well. So an extraordinarily large amount of talent with what he does, and it's not as simple as, you know, playing one of your old video games or something like that. He's doing a fantastic job. As we see Purnell here, just ducking down on the inside here just to make a pass to take 2nd place. Jesse knows that we've got a long way to go here, and so he will be just biding his time to make sure that he's around in the pointy end of things when it matters. So we'll just jump in that camera there. This is sort of what we're wanting to follow here. So just jump inside with Lee Vandenberg there on your main screen, and give you a bit of the sunlight that you'll see, which will affect the way these drivers run this race. We're on board on the small screen there with Jesse Butler as he tries to pursue Chris Purnell in the GT. So there you go. There's a lap of Spa with on board with Jesse Butler in the Porsche. We'll just jump back on with our leader, Braden Nash, who is 4 seconds up the road, clear of the battle that we were just watching. So on that screen there, we will bring you the coverage on the smaller screen of our GTE category. We'll just work our way back through to that now. So that you guys can get an idea of where we are in that race as we just cycle up through the list and jump on. Try and find our GT. There's Brad Klink, just trying to find our race leader in that category, and this is the battle for the lead again. So still nice and close in that small window there with Reece Grant. Just half a second clear of Michael Spithill in second there. There's a battle going on back in 7th and 8th. We will keep a focus on this lead pack here as well. As you can see, Brett Douglas back in the distance there. He's just trying to make his way back up onto the back of that lead pack. But Jaden Sweeney and Ron Polito here are close together. Look at that Polito Brothers Motorsport car glistening in the twilight. It looks fantastic. I know normally the Polito boys have a big following on this stream, so hopefully you're out there watching again tonight, as we've got a gaggle of M8 BMWs having a crack at it. So Ron in the lead there, certainly starting to get darker. As you can see, the reflection of the headlights just starting to appear on the ground as these guys make their way into about 20 minutes into this race. So by the time we finish the first hour, it will be dark. No question. This pack here, we've got 2 seconds covering 4 cars. These guys battled a lot last week. Reece Ashmore is also a little further back in another BMW. So we'll just keep a focus on this battle as it continues to unfold. We've got them catching up to our lead group of cars and just making their way through that lead group of cars there. So Reece Ashmore has actually moved up into second. No, he's just moving up in behind Michael Spithill at the moment, who's leading the GT3 category. So Reece Grant there, I'm not sure if anything happened to him, but he did drop out of the lead of that class. Just got him tailing Reece Ashmore at the moment. So this is staying close. Jaden Sweeney there, back in. Welcome to the stream, Sophie. So we've got your boys up on the screen as we speak. They're locked in a battle either side of the car on screen. Jaden Sweeney in the other M8. The Polito car is just looking immaculate in the twilight with the shiny wheels. The wheels coming to life at night. Certainly 2 of the best looking cars on the track. So well done to them, and thanks for joining the coverage. We really appreciate it as you join us while we get through the next 1 hour and 40 minutes remaining, as there's a move on there to go past Phil, and Wade Reynolds has got that done, so he's moved up into 9th outright with that pass on Phil Polito there. So Ron's just opened up a little bit of a margin here over Jaden Sweeney of coming up to 3/4 of a second. So as we just had a notification that Jesse Butler has had an off-track So that has opened the gap up between himself and Chris Purnell there. Purnell's driven away at this stage, opened up a 2-second gap with Lee Vandenberg right on the tail of the Butler Porsche. So wanting to make his way back onto the back of Purnell there, Butler, to make sure that Chris doesn't widen that gap at the top of the championship. And certainly won't want to fall any further back down if you're defending against Lee Vandenberg there. And you can see Douglas, he's actually closed that gap onto the back of Vandenberg by around about a second. So we might just have a look at the timing delta between these two. So we'll bring that up on screen there. And we'll just flick off the second screen and just have a look at the gap over the last few laps. And you can see there, definitely closed up in those last 2 laps, out from over a second to half a second, or just under half a second there. Looking like he was going to try and make a move there, but he's decided against it. So this was one of the good passing opportunities. The Porsche's quite strong through the corners, but the Ferrari, as you'd expect for a Ferrari, is a good all-rounder. So, as we've had notification as well that Wade Reynolds has slipped off the track. So some of these off-tracks may not actually have happened. The drivers, if they get if they get wide and get an incident point, they will get an incident point registered against their name. So good to see at the moment. We haven't lost any drivers. They're all still running. So good to see everyone still in and around our 23 strong field tonight. So one of our stronger fields. So thank you to all the drivers for making time to race with us and entertain us tonight. Without them, we certainly wouldn't have a show to bring you. So that gap's just widened a little bit there. Just jump back with Lee Vandenberg there and just have a look at the relative between himself and Brett Douglas. So you can see there that it's gone from 4.6 seconds down to 2.2 seconds. So still closing the gap. And last time around, Douglas was a second quicker than Butler and Vandenberg in front. So just sitting in the GT3 category there, Reece Ashmore making his way through on Michael Spithill and moving up into 11th outright. Reece didn't put in a qualifying lap tonight and did start back in the GT3 field, which wasn't supposed to happen. So apologies to Reece there. That wasn't supposed to be that way, but he has now made himself up into the GTE category, my apologies, 11th outright, and will progressively make his way onto the tail, I'm sure, of the Polito Brothers Racing, Phil Polito, who has, interestingly, just jumped into the pits. I don't know if he's got any damage there, or if he is just trying to... oh, that's a... not ideal move there as we see Andre Cortez move across in front of one of the faster cars, but no damage done, and Andre's obviously got out of the way following that move, which is good of him. So it's closed up a bit at the front of the GTE field as well. As always, we want to try and bring you coverage of everything that's going on. So we'll just jump on board with Reece Grant, who's in the middle of this group with some really close racing. Wow, well done. Closed right up there, Ryan Porter. So this is going to be a good solid race for pretty much, I reckon, the rest of the race. And Braden Nash has had an off as well. So we'll just jump across. A little bit happening at the moment, so we will be jumping around a bit. We'll just bring you a replay that, oh, he's just run straight through and across. So that's very unusual, and Chris Purnell has moved into the lead there. So an unusual mistake for the Iceman Nash, who I think that's probably the first time I've actually seen him come off the track and certainly in the last races that he's raced in, first time I've seen him not leading the race. So this contest will be good. He certainly is the fastest man on the track. Basically a second quicker than the Ford of Purnell in front of him, but Purnell's done a lot of endurance racing, so he'll know here that the important thing for him to do is to make bank, so get the points in the bank and continue to open up his lead. There's another gaggle of cars behind this pair. Purnell's just flashing the lights there just to make sure that the Mercedes of Josh Maynard knows that they're coming through, and Josh done the right thing there to grab it out of the way. So as always, we will come back and give him some airtime. And we'll do that actually now while we can. Jump back on with Josh, and we'll jump back in with Josh live as we are now. So he's one of the pack with the Rabid Race Team and the BoxFit sponsorship. So BoxFit Mobile Fitness there, who are a great supporter of a number of the cars in our grid. So if you are looking for that, and again, he's done a fantastic job just running wide there. He will get an incident point for that, but that's really good driving from him to get out of the way of that battle for third, fourth and fifth outright. So well done to you, Josh. Thank you very much for that. And that BoxFit car glowing in the twilight as well. The drivers spend a lot of time. They either get someone to paint their car, or they paint their car themselves, and they spend a lot of time on it. But that black gloss livery really stands out there on Josh's car. So we'll just jump back in here with this lead battle, which has just spaced itself out a little bit here. Brad Klink's moved himself up into fourth. Clearly you can see the alliance there between the Bow Repairs car of Spithill and the Bow Repairs car of Klink. So they will be teaming up in the Enduros that are coming up with others to form two strong cars. So they're going to be ones to watch out for when we get into that series. So we'll just leave them on the small screen. We'll just bring that back into play here. So let me just turn a couple of things off and on, and we'll get you back into the dual coverage so we can show you a bit more of everything that's going on, because this battle at the front is still raging. Purnell will be trying to open up a gap here. What Braden Nash will be doing, however, now that he's got Purnell in front, is trying to conserve fuel. Albeit I say that, it looks like he's about to go for the move on Purnell to take the lead of the race. Is he? Oh no, he's just backed out a little bit. The GT is stronger in a straight line than the Porsche, so he's just opened a little bit of a gap there to keep that margin. Let's just see how close that gap is, though. We'll jump, just having a look over the right rear wheel of the Virtual Motorsport Mentor GT, and you can see where the Porsche line slightly differs to that of the GT, and where that Porsche will close up on the back of the Ford. So not a bad sounding car either, the GT, as we sit just in front of the exhaust as well. So they're still doing almost identical lap times at the moment, and I can't help but thinking that Nash is probably trying to conserve some fuel, conserves his tyres a little bit to extend his, or shorten his pit stop, I should say. So when that does happen, which will be around lap 26 or so, will be where the window opens. At that hour mark, he can take either a little less fuel or not take tyres. It wouldn't surprise me if any of these drivers didn't take tyres. They obviously tyre wear being an issue and being a longer race, you'd expect them to take tyres as well as clearly take on a full tank of fuel. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone manages to manage their tyre wear and just do the single pit stop with no fuel. So again, this is where it seems that the Porsche just catches up through that section, and then just it does struggle to keep hold of the GT in a straight line, and that gap just opens up a little. So it may also be that Braden Nash's tyres are a little more worn. Getting a highlight here of this pack, so we'll just jump back. That's Jeff Thomas there, or Tomo as we call him, who has opened up a gap over the Polito, Sweeney and Wade Reynolds battle raging for 7th, 8th and 9th. We've got Reese Ashmore a little bit further back down the road, who will be trying to jump his way back up onto the back of this group. I'm not sure what happened to Phil Polito there. Oh, he has done his pit stop, Phil Polito, so that's why he is down in 15th outright, 11th in class. So Reese Grant has regained the lead of the GTE category, so we'll just switch vehicles down there, and it's Reese just there. You can see him pulling away, opening up a little bit of a gap over Michael Spithill. Ryan Porter, who is good to have another clean race at this stage, is up in 3rd. They had a really close battle last week as well, and then you've got Brad Klink in 4th. And the Musk stick, Jason Vincent Muscat, in 5th outright in that category, and 16th outright, up 2 places from his qualifying position. So TK, who joins us from across the ditch, he is in 17th or 6th in class. Bud Gibson in 7th. Dave Johnson, captain consistency, in 8th. He's up 1 spot from his starting position. Josh Maynard in 9th or 20th outright. Oh, and just hoping the Ferrari the Air does exactly the right thing as he should. Well done, that man. Jaden Sweeney makes his way down the inside there as well, still in hot pursuit of Ron Polito, and we've got Wade Reynolds also making his way through there cleanly. So the GT3 drivers do a great job of trying to make sure that they stick clear of the faster cars and let them through. Got Andre in the Audi there, just making his way to the left-hand side of the track there as these other faster BMWs try and make their way through. Andre there is trying to get out of the way of this battle pack while not losing too much of his racing line. So just through this section here, hopefully he makes way, and 6 to the inside there he's trying to, and these guys will go through. So keep this battle raging. Just check in with our drivers at the front of the field here. So this gap's still around half a second, and these guys are still breaking away nearly 10 seconds up the road from Brett Douglas, which I actually missed, who has made his way up into 3rd position. I hadn't seen that come through on the timing monitor there, so a fantastic drive from Brett. He's moved up into 3rd, and he will be in hot pursuit now, clearly lapping faster than the Jesse Butler Porsche and the Ferrari of Lee Vandenberg, which looks like it has gone off a little bit there. So making his way up through into 3rd, up 2 places from his qualifying position of 5th. So a good job and a solid drive there from Brett Douglas. He'll be wrapped with that. And sort of locked out of the podiums a little bit in the last couple of rounds with some fantastic drives, but just not managing to move his way up into 3rd place. So this will have good championship implications for him as well, as he's ahead of Ron Polito who is currently holding down third place. So he will move up into third place in our championship if things stay the way that they are. So 37 minutes into this one, and the critical lap, or the critical time, of course, is the hour mark. You don't really want to be pitting before the hour mark because it will mean that you will need a short stop at the end to make your way to the conclusion of the race. So that's where the guys will be managing their way through to. Ryan Porter Ferrari, that's not Ryan Porter there. I'm not sure why that number has done that. Just hasn't quite updated there. So that's Spud Gibson there in the Ferrari. Missing his bonnet. He'll be struggling with that, and he's just cut across, unfortunately, in front of one of our faster cars there, but he has now made his way out of the way, so that's good driving, giving some space there. And also giving space to Jesse Butler. So it is one of the difficulties of having these multi-class races, is that the guys do need to manage passing the slower cars. It does add a complexity to the race that you don't see in single-class racing. But as I said, they managed to make that done. Where can we find the overall championship standings? Thanks very much for the question there, Yellow Rider. We do post them on our Facebook page. We'll see if I can actually drop them up there for you. No, I can't. But what I can do is to just give you a quick rundown on where everyone is, if that will help. So, we did do it at the start of the coverage, but in the GTE category, we've got. Just wondering if we can get this up here for you. That hasn't worked. So let me do a little bit of mucking around here, Yellow Rider, and I will get that up onto the screen for you. So I'm hoping that this has updated. It should have updated for us. No, it's just not going to play. We will get that fixed and be able to bring that to you in next week. Just jump on the front of the Douglas car here. So I'll give you a quick rundown on where we're at. The championship standings as we sit going into tonight, we've only got a 1 point buffer between the leaders of the GTE class, which is the Purnell Virtual Motorsport Mentor car and the car of Jesse Butler, who is currently sitting in fourth. In third is Ron Polito, currently occupying seventh outright. He is around about 20 points behind Purnell and Butler in first and second. And then we have a real close grouping of cars around Ron, which is Brett Douglas, who's currently in third. So he will move into third outright in the championship if things stay as they are for the rest of the race. And also Braden Nash, who did miss a round, who is also there in that gaggle of cars in that top five. In terms of the GT3 cars, Brad Klink is clear leader in that category. He is around about 20 points in front of currently Dave Johnson, who is in 19th place. In third in that category, we have Ryan Porter, who will move up into second outright, I believe, in that category. So they're the top 3. It's very close in the GT3 category as well for that 3rd, 4th, and 5th positions. So I will post an updated driver standings on the Facebook page for you tomorrow, and we'll try and incorporate it into the highlights on Twitch where you've joined us. So thanks for the question, and we'll make sure we get that sorted so that we can give you that detail. It will update at the end of this race, I believe, so we'll just have to make sure that that refreshes, and we'll put that up on the screen for you too. Whereabouts are you from, Yellow Rider? Where are you joining us from? We've had a fair few internationals. We've had people from Pakistan and the UK join us. When we were at Silverstone last week, we did have someone from just up the road from Silverstone joining us on the coverage too. So going international, which is fantastic, and we enjoy. So this battle at the front here is still close, and well done to Phil Polito there, just moving out of the way as the leaders come through. We've got the lead cars of Purnell and Nash just approaching the back of the Brad Klink car. So Brad's an experienced driver. He will make way. No worries at all, Yellow Rider. You're welcome. Thanks for joining the coverage. So Brad will make way. Probably not here, but along the main straight. No, he is making way down the inside there. So that's good driving from Brad to make room. And as I said, one of our more experienced drivers in the class. Watching from Sydney, Australia. We hope you're doing well up there in Sydney. We're broadcasting from Victoria, so you guys are certainly doing better than we are at the moment, and we hope you're safe and well. So that's just helped Purnell open a little bit of a gap over Nash there, just getting through that lap traffic, and that can happen. Douglas around about 10 seconds up the road from that battle, being pursued still by Butler and Vandenberg. So we'll just jump back on board here, and you can see that they're all there in a little chain, the 3 cars of Douglas, Butler and Vandenberg, all waiting for somebody to make a mistake so that they can jump up and pressure them for the lead. The GTE guys still got Reece Grant there comfortably out in front, around about 4 seconds now. He's opened up in the Audi, ahead of Ryan Porter and Michael Spithill in 3rd, Brad Klink in 4th. So coming on to 45 minutes into this one. So you see there Douglas just approaching the back of the Ashmore BMW. Reece, this is actually only his 2nd race with us back full time. He was supposed to contest the whole season, but had some internet connection issues and other bits and pieces that he's now got resolved. So he'll make his way out of the way here and let these faster cars go through so that they can continue to battle on as Reece gets time here. I believe he's running in the Spa 24-hour, so right now for him it'll all be about time in the seat, getting used to the track. Just see how this Sweeney battle's going. He's out on his own now, so Ron Polito has dropped off a little bit. Jaden will be trying to catch up onto the back of Tomo, who's just that little bit further up the road in the, I think it's the JWM Motorsport or JW Motorsport car. Apologies if I've got that wrong there. I can't quite see. It is the JWM car. So very attractive looking M8 that's got him still where he qualified, so he's still 6th outright and doing a good job in making sure that he makes his way through this as cleanly as he can, which is definitely the best way to do it if you're looking to try and get a strong result. Battle at the front here has definitely closed up. This lap traffic not causing too many hassles for the guys, but certainly slowing them down as we're seen a drop off of pace of around about a second a lap at this stage from where they would normally be going. Our GT3 guys doing a fantastic job of getting out of the way. That was Ryan Porter there, who is running 2nd outright in the GT3 category. So this is the period of the race where that car setup that the guys do invest a lot of time of really comes into its own. So the cars that look after their tyres better, they generally do so just gradually throughout the race, and the car, they're trying to aim to have the car at its strongest towards the last half an hour of the race, where they can really put pressure on, or they might be racing for position. So the first hour to hour and a half of the race is really about managing your race, keeping clean, not having to pit to repair damage, not having to get too slowed down by lap traffic and wear up tyres and waste fuel while you're doing it. So getting through, getting the job done cleanly, and then managing yourself into that last half an hour of the race. So on the weekend when these guys are running in the 24-hour race at this very track, exactly the same strategy of getting through the first couple of hours when things are hectic, getting into a groove and a rhythm, getting through the driver changes that will happen. So most of these guys will run with 4 driver teams. And they will certainly be trying to make sure that they manage themselves through to the last hour, maybe 2 hours of the race, where the fastest driver will end up back in the car, and they'll really try and make sure that they can make that final push to get themselves home. So I think that is now all of the traffic negotiated for these two. So they'll be able to get back into their rhythm and try and put in some fast laps as they head to around about 12 minutes before we get into the first round of pit stops. We have had 2 drivers so far make a departure into pit lane. Phil Polito has done a full pit stop, so he's probably going to be close to fuel to the end. No, probably not. He will have to make another stop, I imagine, towards the end of the race, a little splash and dash. And we have had Ron Polito pull through pit lane as well, which actually looks like it was for a drive-through. He did it on lap 20, so not sure why that would happen there. We'll try and find some more information out on that if and when we can. In the small window there, you are following Reece Grant, the leader of our GT3 category, who is in the lead by around about 2 seconds from Ryan Porter behind him. You can just see him there as the screen moves up, just off in the distance. So that good for Ryan's championship there. Reece's first race tonight in the Audi, so he will move up into, I would suggest, second outright, given the gap back to Dave Johnson, who currently does hold second place in that championship. So Braden trying to use the draft here just to close that gap up on the back of the GT, but that part of the track there is definitely the stronger part for the Ford against the Porsche. Just opening up, it doesn't sound like much, but 0.5 of a second on the Porsche. So it just means that the Porsche can't quite jump onto the back of the Ford, and through the stronger sections for the Porsche, challenge potentially for it. So it's a good part of it. Dave, thanks for your question there. Crumb26. Dave's probably not had the race that he would want, but as you know, if you've seen him, Captain Consistency, he'll get himself back up. He's just down 1 spot on his qualifying position, so he will had a small off. But he's back on track now. Didn't damage his race too much. He just ran wide, but he did lose a place. So he will be trying to just make his way back through the field. We'll jump on board with him for you in the smaller window there. Just getting notification that someone's pulled through the pits. That's Andre Cortez there. And there he is for you with that little captain's hat, also known as the sniper. Interesting. Well, you can see he has embraced the captain. There's a little hat on the right-hand rear corner of that Ferrari there that he did for us by embracing the nickname that we've given him. We haven't handed out too many nicknames, but he certainly was the first one to get one. He's second in the championship because of his consistency, just continuing to accumulate the points. So he will certainly feature, I think, in the top three, depending on how he goes in the endurance races. So a little bit more about the story behind the sniper. I'm hoping that's not because he takes people out. It doesn't strike us as that kind of driver, but any appropriate information you can share, we'd definitely like to know a little bit more about our drivers as we continue to get through this inaugural season. So 7 minutes to the hour. We'll generally try and stick with the racing until we get through the pit adjusted race order. And then we'll take a little break. You'll still get to watch and keep going on with what's going on. We'll take a little break in around about 7 minutes time and bring you, or get prepared to bring you, the last hour of the race as we descend into darkness. He rolled a go-kart back. Wow, that is a good achievement, but I've seen plenty of videos of people who have managed to do that on YouTube. Crumb26, he's not unique in having done it, but it certainly could be a hair-raising experience. He obviously managed to get through it okay, so you can see the lights ablaze now as we haven't reached total darkness, but it just has got a little bit darker there. You can see that Virtual Motorsport Mentor logo illuminated purple. That's pretty cool, a bit of glow-in-the-dark stuff on the side of that GT that's leading our race there with Chris Purnell. Probably fair to say that that 08 on the front of Johnson's car there probably looks like the captain's spotlight. Maybe we need to nickname his car the Love Boat. Probably won't thank us much for that though, so we might just stick with the captain for the minute. Dave's one of the good guys of the series. We love having him on board, and hopefully he'll kick on with us into season 2. Going to jump a little bit further back in the field here. This battle between Phil Polito and Reese Ashmore is just bubbling away. They're 10th and 11th in class, but there's no shortage of passion in trying to want to move yourself up the field here. Reese Ashmore just sticks his nose out just to have a little look down the inside there to see if he might get through Phil. But he hasn't managed to do that. Just half a second between these two cars. As I said, battling it out for 10th and 11th in class, but 15th and 14th outright on the track, respectively. So I'm hoping to see the Polito boys doing the Spa 24-hour this weekend as well. They're a fantastic supporter of ours, so are their family, and we appreciate them jumping on board with us and racing in our series. Well, we have got you. If you are enjoying the coverage, or you're feeling particularly nice, we would love it if you could share the stream or follow one of the pages, or just help us grow our channel and our network. We've got a lot of racing to bring you, and a lot of e-sports in general to bring you as we continue to grow this channel over the next couple of months. We are starting to venture off into other categories, including we're going to have a couple of 8-bit tournaments coming up with NBA Jam tournament that we're going to announce shortly, and some other challenge-based things that we'll be launching onto the channel. So if you're a fan of gaming overall, not just iRacing, you definitely want to be involved and stick around. Get some notifications from the channel as we continue to announce and grow and build this awesome opportunity that we've been given, as Ashmore has run wide there, so that relieves a little bit of the pressure from the battle here with Phil Polito. He's actually pulled into the pits there, Ashmore, so he's going to do his pit run, and he's managed to make it to the hour, so he will be perfectly fine to the end of the race with that pit. Now, leaders here still not having done a pit stop yet, so we still are in corrected order here. Brett Douglas has gone in for his pit stop, so he's just filing his way through the pit lane now. Go Polito. Or Polito, says DVGG. Get massive amounts of support for the Polito boys here, so thank you very much. I'm sure Ron and Phil really appreciate you tuning in and checking on how they are going in their respective cars. Just waiting to see if anyone else does file in this lap. We've got Tomo in 5th, up 1 spot, with he's closed up. That's not for position, so he is around about 27 seconds behind Lee Vandenberg at the moment. We've got Jesse Butler just up in front of Lee Vandenberg, so this battle here hasn't really changed. So we'll just give you a little bit of coverage of the battle for 3rd and 4th. This will have championship implications with Chris Purnell, if my mental arithmetic is correct. Purnell just having jumped into the pits actually, so here he goes to serve his pit service. I'm just going to stick on here with Chris because I want to see, and we certainly won't stay with that camera because that is not going to show us anything. Just watch him as he comes down pit lane and see if he ends up taking tyres or not. Well, actually, what we'll do here is jump on with him on the nose. This is the longest pit lane you've ever seen in your life. You've got to drive basically down the finishing straight, around the corner, get a drink, bring a packed lunch, and then eventually get yourself down into pit lane. So he's on the limiter there, just actually rolling. It sounds like he's run out of fuel. He has. So Purnell has absolutely exhausted every last drop of fuel in getting the car back to the pits there. And he is just picking in here. So we'll just see if the car lifts off the ground to see if he's actually choosing to take tyres or not. If he doesn't take tyres here, that will be an interesting move as an early pit stop. What have we got there? Stationary time is what we're looking at. So total pit time, you're looking at around about 1:30 here. So he's just done 1:26. The car has started up. Doesn't look at this stage like he is going to take tyres. No, he hasn't. So that will be interesting to see. We're going to have to watch Butler and see if whether or not he and Braden Nash take tyres in those Porsches. But at this stage, Chris Purnell, and I would say, looking at the relative times of the two cars, himself and Douglas in the other GT, potentially not taking tyres. So that could change things dramatically for the race. Just in terms of pit strategies, it is going to have implications, I think, as we just see there that Reece Grant, who was the leader in the GT3 category, has completed his transit through the pit lane. So we're just quickly running through here. Braden Nash has entered pit lane, so we will jump on with him and see whether or not he is equally going to take tyres or not. Have a look at this pit lane 2 view just to see when he does circle around. What we're looking for, as Jesse Butler has pulled in, as well as Lee Vandenberg. So all of the lead cars cycling through. So what we're really going to want to be looking for here is where Chris Purnell is on track in comparison to the Braden Nash Porsche as he cycles through his pit stop. So Reece Ashmore just goes through there on the small screen. Just trying to work out here if we can get hold of the front of the Purnell car, which we will. There he is there, and we've got the Porsches just cycling through the pits now. So on the main screen, we're just going to jump on to the two Porsches. What we're looking for here is to see whether or not the Nash... Oh, we've actually jumped onto the wrong car. There we go there. Yes, so what have we got here with the Purnell car? So he's coming around through bus stop now. So he is a little bit further back up the road. He's finished going through the bus stop, and he will be coming down past pit lane here. And you can see there, if you're looking at the screen, he has just gone past pit lane and will now open along with Brett Douglas as well. So they have managed tyres and pit stop strategy extremely well here, and they are out into the lead. Jesse Butler has moved out, as well as Lee Vandenberg, and Braden Nash at this stage still getting tyres done on his car. So he is dropping a lot of time here. This is going to affect the outcome of the race. He will have to drive the wheels off that Porsche, and that may well be the strategy for him to get that up into a top 3 position with the effective race order now settling with Purnell, Douglas, Butler, Vandenberg, Ron Polito, who has not pit stopped yet, so effectively he is still to make that stop. So Braden Nash in 5th place at the end of the pit lane changeover. So this has had a big implication on the outcome of this race. Jump back on board with Purnell, who is halfway around his lap. So we've got a gap of just under 50 seconds back to Braden Nash in 6th place. So effectively in 5th once pit lane has been activated by all of our drivers. We've just got a couple of drivers yet who are still yet to pit, with Ron Polito currently sitting in 5th, yet to make his stop there. Thanks, Luke, for tuning in. And yeah, Chris and Brett have just moved into 1st and 2nd. Purnell and Douglas, 1st and 2nd in the GTE category. And in terms of the GT3, with you referring to Musco, I'm assuming you're referring to Jason, who is sitting 4th, having done his pit stop as well on lap 25. So that is his actual position adjusted for the pit stop. So doing well there in 4th outright. We also do have Reece Grant leading the GT3 category after pit stops, Michael Spithill, and Brad Klink, who actually has moved up 5 places from his qualifying position with his new rig and stuff that he had to get sorted to get into this race, in 3rd place. So congratulations to him so far. A great drive to move up into 3rd. So pit stops a big factor in this race. G'day Tyler, thanks for joining us again this week. Yeah, Butsy, he's done a good job so far. The Porsche went off a little bit early in the race. So he was battling, I think, with tyres there to get himself through to the first pit stop, having been out in 2nd place with a fair gap. So he has taken tyres. So it will be that he should be able to get himself caught up potentially onto the back of this leading pack here of Douglas and Purnell. He's around about 20 seconds down the road from Purnell in the GT. These guys will be trying to run, I think, to open the gap as far as they can. If the Porsches of Butler and Nash, and the Ferrari of Vandenberg did take tyres then towards the end of this one, albeit it's at night where the wear rate of the tyres as the track's cool is going to be a little less. They will be hoping they can look after their tyres well enough to get through and take out a 1-2, which we haven't actually seen since Braden Nash and Brock Schaefer took out a 1-2 in the first race at Phillip Island. Oh, he's got the talent to do it, Tyler, so if anyone's going to be able to make his way up onto the back of this lead pack, it'll certainly be Jesse. He's one of the best in the field, so we'll keep a close eye on that gap. We might just jump back on with Douglas there and have a quick look at the relatives, the sector times between himself and Jesse. We'll just leave that up on screen for a minute and see how that looks. Okay, so while things have settled down a little bit, we are going to take our break. Be around about 4 minutes, and we'll leave you with the screen capture of the leaders of this race at this point in time. And we're back in a couple of minutes, and we'll get ourselves prepared and geared up to bring you the last 45 minutes or so of this race. So stay with us. You won't want to miss the last half an hour if the last few rounds are anything to go by.
Community. Race clean. This is the most important thing to progressing in any of the racing simulators out there. Be consistent and stay on your race line. Someone that is much faster will overtake you when they can. Moving off your line to get out of the way can cause more trouble than you think. Have fun. You will wreck quite a bit. Sometimes your fault, plenty of times not your fault. Learn from it. Wreck avoidance is key. Whether you're just starting out and wanting an entry grade setup, or have been in the sim scene for years and needing a well-deserved upgrade, simrigs.com is here to help. So please don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions. At Ferguson Group Media, we are a full-service marketing agency built for today. Day in, day out, we are about attracting attention to build brands. We believe that every business is a marketing and media business and should have access to a content creating machine. That's where we fit in. We also understand about extracting value from social media marketing and digital marketing. Video is king in producing content for your business. From it, all other forms of content can flow. We are set up to film, edit, and post-produce content at scale. This enables us to keep costs down, allowing small businesses to also access our products. Don't hesitate to reach out and chat about your content ideas. Your local digital marketing agency, Ferguson Group Media. There is an awful lot to learn, and it takes quite some time. Trying to work it all out on your own can be confusing and overwhelming. It can be super hard to get on the track, never mind being competitive. For me, I was lucky enough to get involved with a group of guys that were really fantastic and gave me a lot of knowledge and support. This helped me to progress with my skills and got me up to speed very quickly. After a solid 5 years honing my skills, I now feel I'm in a position to help others. So I'm all in on Virtual Motorsport Mentor and loving every moment. I created this platform to help drivers develop their skills and get the support and feedback they need to improve their drive lines, speed, setups, and more. My goal is to see you become the best driver you can be. The question is, how far do you want to take it? I look forward to helping you drive fast and win more. Chris, Virtual Motorsport Mentor. Would you like to get your brand in front of thousands of avid gamers? FGMeCast now has sponsorship packages available, so you can get your name in the stream and start getting the audience you deserve. Our productions are cinema and TV standard and will include everything you need to get an ad just like the ones you saw into our live streams and replays. Don't hesitate to reach out if you'd like to work together. Thank you for watching another round of the Australian Endurance eChampionship, an FGMeCast production. We are super stoked to announce that we now have official series merchandise available on our website, so feel free to go over there and check it out. It's fgmecast.com/store. You can check out a whole bunch of cool designs there, from framed posters, caps and beanies, badges, phone cases, all the way up to zip-up hoodies. So we've got everything for every price point. Even if you've only got a few dollars there, you can just grab something small and we'd really appreciate the support. If you really can't do anything like that at all, feel free to just share the stream and help us get the word out there.
Alright everyone, thank you for that. I have refueled, I've got another coffee, and I am ready to go as, wow, I didn't see that coming. I've just noticed, I saw that there was two Fords at the front of the list here, but what I didn't notice was Brett Douglas moving out into the lead and about a second up the road from Chris Purnell there in second place. So a good effort there from Brett to take over the lead of this race, and that's the first time he has led some laps in our series. So good on him for moving up beyond Chris and taking the lead. So just setting some things up, we'll get that second camera move. You can see there the two Fords relatively close together within the glow of the headlights from one another. But we just want to jump back onto our leaders of the GTE category. So we'll just go back to the single car coverage for the second. We'll make some adjustments here and we will bring that back to you. So the good news is we've still got Reece Grant leading our GT3 category. So we're going to jump back on board with him. It's in following him around from above at this point in time, which will give us a good bird's eye view of where he's at. So now on the right hand corner there you do have Reece Grant, the leader of the GTE class. What we'll do is we'll just do a rundown from top to bottom here to give you a picture of where everything is at post pit stop. I'm going to bring up the track so you can see relatively where everyone is on it, and then that way you'll get a good idea of where the driver that you're following might be. So you can see the circuit there. It is fantastic. We need to do a little bit of adjustment work with that, but it's looking good. So I'm going to put the car numbers up on the screen there, or maybe even you might find it handier if we put initials on there. We don't have too many of the same there. So if you're looking for your favourite driver, do look for their initials on the screen. Alright, so we've got, starting with the GTEs, and we'll have that up on the main screen still. We've got Brett Douglas there, as you can see, leading the race. I'm going to bring the relatives up as well, so that we've got... no, we won't. We're going to leave it as it is, actually. So we've got Brett Douglas in first, and then back down the street a little bit, around 1.8 seconds behind him is Chris Purnell in second. Lee Vandenberg, who is doing a great job in third, a little bit further back down the road. Jesse Butler is right behind him. So Tyler, if you're still watching and looking at where Jesse is, he has closed up onto the back of the Vandenberg Ferrari, just 1.7 seconds behind. He will continue. He is doing faster laps than the Ferrari, so he will continue to make up that gap. Concerning thing for him is that Braden Nash is lapping a lot quicker, 2 seconds a lap faster at this stage than the cars in front of him. He is still 16 seconds down the road, but is making up the gap quickly as we expected him to. Ron Polito, for the Polito fans out there, still in 6th spot, with Jeff Thompson about 10 seconds further back down the road from him. We've then got Jaden Sweeney, who is in 8th spot, Wayne Reynolds in 9th, Phil Polito in 10th, and then in the GTEs, rounding out the category, is Reese Ashmore back in 11th there. Jumping into the GTEs, as we said, Reese Grant at the top of that pack. Welcome to the category, Reese. That is a solid job from you. He is lapping at around about the same time as Michael Spithill, who is running in 2nd spot. His teammate Brad Klink is right behind him there. You can see as we switch between those two cars. So not a lot of gap between them, but they will be working it together, I can assure you, being teammates, to try and move up as quickly as they can. Ryan Porter in 4th. He has had a good race and an incident-free race, just back there in 4th, doing what he needs to do to keep up with it. We've got Jason Musket, or the Musk Stick, down there in 5th, doing a great job again as he has just entered the category. Spud Gibson in 6th in the Ferrari. He has dropped a few spots, but he did have an off early on that damaged his car. He did battle through with that until the pit stop, and he was suffering particularly for straight line speed in that car after some damage early in the race. TK right behind him, joining us from New Zealand. He is certainly looking forward to running in the Enduros with another one of our new Kiwi drivers. So we are looking forward to seeing how they go. Captain Consistent, or as I was told earlier on, the Sniper, Dave Johnson, back there in 8th spot. Todd Gibson in his first race in the series in 9th. Josh Maynard back in 10th, with Andre Cortez, who is unfortunately out of the race, along with Luke Keamy, who did have a few issues early on in the stream as well. And that is your complete field front to rear at this stage. So as we said, Brett Douglas taking over the lead of the race while we were off on our commercial break. I've just noticed that gap now back to Chris Purnell has dropped down to just under 3/4 of a second. So again, these guys will be looking to bring themselves a little closer to be able to use the draft to assist them to go a little bit quicker down the straights. And it does work with the two cars. Aerodynamically, it does help them to make sure that they can get top speed, particularly down the straight that you can see them approaching up to just now. You will also notice that the GT3 cars have got an illuminated number on the windscreen. So when you see those cars getting around, that is the other class, and those numbers do represent their standing position in the category. So Interesting tactic there. A little flash of the headlights from Chris Purnell. It would have put him into total darkness while he was driving around, but probably just making Phil Polito there, who's done a great job again, aware that they're coming through and that they are the leaders of the race. Just going to jump back to the battle that's going on a little bit further back behind this one, which is this group of cars here. So in our GT3 category, we've got an off there. Jason Muscat has turned himself around there. So a little bit of commentator's curse for the Muscat stick, but that's unfortunate for him. He will make his way back up. He's back onto the track already, and he may well close back up onto this pack. He's certainly lapping at the right speed to do that in the sort of 2:18 to 2:19 a lap category. So that moves Spud Gibson up into 5th and TK right behind him up into 6th spot in class. We have just seen as well Brad Klink here making his way up into 2nd spot. Wonder if there's a little bit of team orders going on there. Brad certainly chasing the championship win. We wouldn't want to call them Ferrari. Maybe there is a bit of Barrichello and Schumacher going on there. Some team orders, but Brad certainly vying for the win in the championship. Yeah, that will move him up that little bit and just make sure he protects his lead at the top of the championship standings. He is trying to pursue Reece Grant and get into the lead of the race. At this stage, the effect on the championship is that I think Ryan Porter is going to probably move up into 2nd spot with Dave Johnson there down in 8th. So in 8th spot, he's probably going to earn around 20 points. Ryan Porter will earn 28, and that will close the gap there a little bit. So the points update at the end of this one is going to be interesting to see where these guys get to. We'll just jump on board here with Braden Nash just to see how he's going. He's pretty much the length of this straight away from Jesse Butler, who you can see on the small map there in the screen. Just look out for the JB, which is just going around through that sweeping right-hander at the moment as Jesse makes his way through... my apologies, as Braden makes his way through this chicane. So he's closing the gap. He is coming. He is now 14 seconds behind Jesse Butler. So I'm just going to bring Jesse up on the screen here and just show you the relative lap times between himself and Braden Nash. And you can see there that Braden over the last 4 laps has reduced the gap substantially by just on 6 seconds. So it at that rate, as Braden continues to close, he will close up onto the back of this battle pack where we've got Lee Vandenberg just up the road there in front. You can see that there's just a car coming through with the headlights on now, and Jesse Butler. So this will be on, I reckon, we're at an hour 25, probably in around about 13 laps time. 13 laps time means that it's going to be right at the end of the race. Unless there's some other sort of delay, these guys are doing laps of around about 2:16, 2:17 a lap. With just on 35 minutes to go as we start to get into crazy time in this race, it's going to be a close finish. I would predict at this stage that Vandenberg, Butler and Nash will be battling for that 3rd spot on the podium, barring any issues at the end of the race. So do stay tuned to see how that pans out. And I reckon with those 3 drivers, all quality drivers, it's going to be an exciting finish. Brett Douglas still at the lead of this pack. This grid, my apologies, with Chris Purnell right behind him. Douglas up 4 spots into the lead, so he has done a cracking job to get up there, and I know he will be stoked with that. The guys are running the only Fords in the field, and they chose them as a challenge, and it has certainly been that. I've driven the Ford and hate it. Don't think it's a good car at all. My pick of the cars would definitely be the one on screen now, the RSR. So they challenge themselves, and it certainly hasn't come without pain for them as they make their developments on the car. So, and that's certainly not to take anything away from how they are driving. So one other thing that's going to make it a little difficult that the drivers haven't had to deal with is lap traffic in the dark. That's a new frontier for them. This is our first night race, so well, not night race, but our first race that started in twilight, so it's going to finish at night. So they'll have to be careful as they make their way through the lap traffic, which we'll see towards the end of the race. The GT3 guys do take a lot of care in trying to make sure they stay out of the way, but in the dark it's going to be difficult to know what's coming up behind them. Just going to switch back on the small screen there to have a look at this grouping. I can just bring it up on screen. Where are we? So it's difficult for me to see what's actually going on as well, so there we go, now we're going the right way. So, let's change cameras too. So you can see there as we enter chase view on the small inset window, that is on board with the M8 of Phil Polito, who's just tailing behind Reese Grant, I believe. There we go. Oh, so yeah, geez, we just had an off there. Hopefully the re-entry isn't too shabby. No, they've done okay there as well. So who was that who came off track? Ron Polito, unfortunately, running wide there. So Lee Vandenberg has had an incident as well. I'm just going to try and bring you that as a replay. I think he might have got caught up in someone else's accident, because there's been an off. No, he's just had a slide, unfortunately. So Lee Vandenberg's had a slide there. It's not too... it was him re-entering the track that we saw. So thanks very much for joining us, DVGG. We really appreciate you following the stream and letting us bring this race to you. So that hasn't affected him too much, but it has moved him, let Jesse Butler go up into third, and I'm not sure what's going on here, but Brent Douglas has pulled into pit lane. No, we've just had an issue with the timing. We're just having a look at the replay here. He certainly has entered into pit lane. So these guys not taking tyres, I believe, based on the timing down pit lane. So I don't know if that means that his tyres have gone off and he needs to take tyres, and that's why he's run in. Yeah, Ron did have an off there, Evie, I'm sorry to say, but he's back on track now, and he's just in the battle pack that he has been running with for most of the race, so he will, I'm sure, continue to try and get himself back up as we see Douglas here in the pit lane still running his self through there. It's not a drive-through penalty. We'll just see if the car goes up in the air here. He's definitely taking on fuel. Just try and work out what's going on here so we can update you on whether or not that then means that we're going to be expecting Chris Purnell to have to make a stop. It looks like he's just taken fuel, so maybe under-fueling the car a little bit, I'm not sure. We'll stick with Chris Purnell, our race leader here, as he makes his way round through the back part of the circuit and see if he does pull in. Jeff Thompson's 85 looks dark. How hard is it driving in the virtual darkness? It is a challenge, Frank. The cars do have lights inside, so we'll jump on with the Jeff Thompson 85. The Jeff Thomas 85 car. Just in a sec, as he's also in pit lane. So I think some of these cars may have underfueled themselves a little bit to get to the end. So this is interesting. I wasn't expecting to see a second round of pit stops. So this is in car for you there, Frank, of the 85 Thomas car as he leaves the pits. So there is a little bit of lighting, particularly on the steering wheel, and they will see that in the in their faces they're driving around. So I'll just turn this car down a little bit, but to give you a bit of the appreciation for how it looks inside, we'll just jump on board and stick with Jeff Thomas for his outlap. And while we're doing that, I'll let you enjoy that on the full screen there, and I'll just make some adjustments to these cameras as we've got 27 minutes to go. So that's it there for you, Frank, in terms of what they can see out of the car. So obviously the headlights on these vehicles are extremely well set up to ensure that they get as much vision as they can while they are out racing, but certainly more difficult than doing it during the day. G'day, Jager Pasco. Yeah, we too, mate, are bummed that you couldn't make it tonight, but that's okay. We will see you at the Enduros and looking forward to it. We know you would have given it a red-hot crack tonight, as you always do. So hope your new house is good and you're settling in, and we'll certainly see you back next week. Thanks for joining us on the stream to have a look. So just to update you now, so we've had a couple of second pit stops happen here. So we've had the Douglas Ford pull in for a second stop, and his pit time itself, he was only stationary for about 20 seconds, so I'm going to assume that he has just taken tyres, that potentially, and we've just seen there that Michael Spithill and Brad Klink have both had an off track. We'll just have a look at that. They were racing very close together here, so we're just going to jump on and bring you a replay of that. We'll come back to the pit stops in a moment. As you can see there, behind one another, you've got... Oh no, and they've had a team coming together. That is not ideal at all, with Spithill taking Klink out. So I can imagine that there will be some pretty frustrated heads in those two cars. It hasn't impacted on their position. It has actually, with Ryan Porter now moving up into second, so that will not be a welcome result for either of those two cars, as that moves Brad Klink down into third place. Ryan Porter here, who we've just jumped on board with, who's run really well tonight, just a little further up the road from the car of Klink, so he will be happy to do that. And we have we? No, we haven't. We had a notification that our leader, Chris Purnell, had entered the pits, but he just must have run a little wide there and triggered that. So we've now got, Ryan Porter up into second. You can see 03 there is the Klink car in the background. And he will be trying to catch back up on the tail here. They're also in some traffic there with the Jesse Butler and Vandenberg battle going on around them. So you can see here as we jump on board with Jesse, he is approaching the back of this little battle here. So as he tries to make pace on the Purnell Ford, just giving a flash of the headlights there. He may not be close enough to make that move stick, and no, he's not. So he'll have to be a little patient here and get the job done where he can, which is not going to be there. He might try and squeeze his way down the inside here, and he will get this done, I reckon, and he does. Just holds the gear a little bit longer, makes his way through, and Ryan will give him room as well. So that gets that job done there for Jesse Butler as he continues to try and close the gaps. 24.5 seconds here between himself and Purnell in the lead, with Vandenberg, even though he had that off, still able to hold on to that third spot. Braden Nash, he's still coming. For those of you watching, he is now just 6 seconds down the road from this Butler and Vandenberg grouping. So he's made up time quicker than I calculated, but his lap times have stabilised at the same as this group. So how he goes from here, whether he's burnt the tyres a little too much to make up the distance, time will tell. Certainly at this time I do want to give a shout out to our amazing partners in this whole journey. So the Aftershock, the boys at Aftershock, Ryan and the crew down there are absolutely amazing. They've supplied a couple of our races with new PCs, and certainly we purchased a PC from them as well. They built it to our requirements, gave us plenty of good advice on making sure that we're going to be able to run the setup that we've got here. One day we'll bring you some footage of what we do behind the scenes, but they built us this massive computer and really looked after us. Did it in a really short period of time too, as they knew we were streaming. And so if you're in the market for a new computer, visit the guys at Aftershock. It's your rig, it's your choice, but they will certainly look after you. Ryan, they are a Melbourne-based company, a couple of local guys, so certainly supporting a local business. And simrigs.com, the supplier of everything you need to get your bum in the seat. Steering wheel, pedals, the like, so match it up with your Aftershock PC. Grab yourself a couple of monitors and you'll be off and running. And if you are interested in getting started, all of the champions get coaches, and that's no different here. So Chris Purnell, who does run in this series, leader of our race at the moment, runs Virtual Motorsport Mentor. Very generous with his time, and certainly will help you go faster if that's what you're trying to do. So have a look at him. Last but not least, we are a Razer streaming partner, so hashtag Razer streamers. We use, or I certainly use, a Razer headset to bring you the commentary that I'm bringing you. So if you are in the market for some noise cancelling headphones or some other bits and pieces to accessorize your computer, hit up Razer. And we do have a discount code on the website that we can bring to you if you're looking to get some gear. A little bit more flash of the headlights there from Jesse as he continues to try and move through Reece Ashmore just trying to get out of the way there, and doing a reasonable job doing so as a new racer in the category. Just briefly, while we also have have time to take a breath, let you know that our next 2 rounds of this series are our longer format 4-hour enduro events. We are headed to the Nürburgring in Germany in the weekend, so we've moved the races to a Saturday afternoon fixture because they are a 4-hour race. So we've moved the event to a 2 p.m. kickoff time, and we're doing some stuff just to bring you a little bit of what we're doing next season. So we will actually have a full race weekend for you there, streaming for around about 6 hours with a pre or undercard of the Mazda Pro Mazda 2000 or 2-litre IndyCar series, where we're going to have a sprint race at a track yet to be decided, and then following that an IndyCar race in the IR18 Dallara, again, which will be a sprint race as the 2 undercards to then our main feature race, the 4-hour. It won't be at the Nürburgring, albeit that'd be very exciting to watch. Those cars just wouldn't make it around a track like that at this point in time. So a longer stream starting on Saturday afternoon, and we'll go right through into the early hours of Saturday evening. So around about 8 o'clock finish time for the 4-hour enduro at the Nürburgring. And that's a precursor to a series that we are launching for later in the year, where we'll be running that sort of longer race weekend format. So it's going to be exciting. It's something that hasn't been done before. And as always, we're trying to push ourselves and bring you race series that haven't been done. So plenty to come there. We're also looking into some other funky things like some stadium trucks, and other bits and pieces. And as I mentioned earlier, we do stream more than just iRacing, so there is a virtual racing. A bit of a lock up there from Braden Nash as he heads into the bus stop. We do stream some other stuff as well. I do a little bit of VR streaming of iRacing of some of the stuff that I do, and we've just started basically our retro gaming stream during one evening a week, where we'll jump into something that we used to play as kids and see how we go with that. So NBA Jam was what we did for the last 2 weeks, and I have the tragic omission to make that we went 0-10. That is right, we did not win a game across 10 games. I'm sure that we used to dominate that as kids, but clearly not as adults. So we've moved on from that. We put up a poll on the page last week, and you guys have picked Mario Kart for us for the next time we retro game. We were unfortunately unable to do it last night due to preparations for the COVID closure in Victoria. In addition to that, we have picked up a stream on Tuesday nights, a GTE series for the Australian Pro-Am GT3 series, which we're proud to now be associated with as the official streaming partner. That starts on August 4th, and we will stream that on a Tuesday evening. A good mixed category that they put together there. Oh no, as we see, Lee Vandenberg in the background has gone off. He has had a spin there, so that brings Braden Nash up into 3rd place and back onto our podium. So unfortunate there for Lee, and he will get back onto the track. We'll just try and see if there's any damage. Yeah, he has. He's damaged the rear wing of that Ferrari in that spin. So that's bad luck for him. Looked like a single car incident there. It didn't look like anyone got in his way. So that's disappointing. As he has been running consistently well throughout the evening. So we're just back on board with Braden Nash here. This man just keeps coming. He is 6 seconds back down the road from Jesse Butler. We've got 15 minutes to go, and I don't want to flatter myself too much, but I picked this. 14 minutes to go. He is still lapping, however, about the same lap speed as Jesse Butler. So He may not even manage to get back onto the back of Butler's car, which means Butler will finish second, Purnell will finish first, and that will result in Purnell doubling his championship lead from the solitary point up to 2 points in the lead up to the next round. He's got some slower cars here that did get out of the way for Braden, so he makes his way through there. He's doing a great job, Leighton. I reckon he's going to make his way up on the back. The gap's now down to 5.7 seconds. So we'll just stick with this for a little bit. And what we'll do here is bring you up the lap time results. Just jump on board with Jesse Butler so we can show you those for a bit. What have we got there? So he has been closing, with the exception of that lap, with the lap traffic at, what's he... over 5 laps. He's made up just under 3 seconds there, about 2.8 seconds he's made up on Butler in second place. So we'll keep an eye on his lap times. He is slightly quicker than the car in front of him, the Butler car. So it's going to come down to whether or not he can get it done with the remaining laps. There's 13 minutes to go. So we've got around about 7 laps for him to complete that. So he's going to need to put in some scorches, is basically the situation for him there. So the Reece Grant, just jump onto this one for a moment before we do close out the race with our GT3 guys. So Reece Grant's done a fantastic job in moving himself into first place. And he thanks very much for the feedback there, Leighton. We really appreciate it. And yeah, Braden has updated, so it's good to see that he's not sitting on that little office chair anymore, racing in a tiny screen. So he'll only get quicker and quicker as well. A fantastic driver and a very consistent driver too. So we appreciate you tuning in, Leighton. Thanks very much. Just focusing on Reece Grant here at the lead of the GT3. So he is new to the series. I believe he's going to be partnering up with Jason Muscat, the Mustic, in the Enduros next week. And he's done a really good job of running a clean and consistent race here. Can certainly steer and done a good job to be up the front of that field with some quick guys too. So it looks like that's Purnell coming up behind him. So he'll make his way out of the way for the leader to come through as he has done. A little bit of flash of the headlights saying thank you there for that one. And he'll keep on his way. He's 45 seconds in front of Ryan Porter there, so can't see too many people troubling him for the lead. This is where it's at for these guys. Michael Spithell has made his way back up towards the back of the car of Ryan Porter. And you can see there that Spithell going quicker and quicker and closing the gap to make up for his indiscretion a little bit earlier on in the race, where unfortunately he did come together with Brad Clink in a, shall we call it, a braking error, unfortunately there. So it's disappointing for Brad, but I think overall he'll probably be happy to have even just participated tonight, having some computer issues right up to the start of this race, and only just making onto the grid. So 10 minutes to go. And this man, Chris Purnell, does lead this race up 3 spots from his qualifying position of 4th, with, I can only really say, pit strategy there that's managed to help him to get through this one. He, I don't believe, took tyres, and as a consequence of that, he is up into the lead of this one when Braden Nash did have control of it, and he's managed to use pit strategy to his advantage by managing his tyres to get up into the lead of this race. Man we haven't given much air to tonight is this man here, Jaden Sweeney. He has been going about his business relatively quietly and consistently, and that has seen him move up 5 places in this race to 5th on the grid. He did pit a little earlier, 1 lap earlier than our race leader, but he should be filled to the end. And we'll be able to maintain his position there with Jeff Thompson 16 seconds further back down the road in 6th spot. So a good performance for Jaden. He had some early internet issues in the series which affected his outcomes, but he is certainly making up for it in the last 2 rounds. 5th place, he'll be quite chuffed to get there, I imagine. Brett Douglas, who was leading our race for a period of time around about the hour 10 mark, had to pull into the pits only for what I can imagine is tyres. So he has made his way back up to 4th place with those fresher tyres, but Braden Nash 40 seconds up the road. So again, relying on just finishing this one out, and he will take home a solid 4th place. He'll probably be a little bit disappointed in that as an outcome, having led the race for a number of laps. So 7:50 to go. Chris Purnell leading the race. I imagine that in that Ford, he is breathing a sigh of relief that Jesse Butler is not right behind him, as the two have traded half a second a lap for hours on end. If we added it up, I imagine there's probably a good 3 to 4 hours of racing where they've only been half a second apart, and we did catch up with Chris a little bit after the last round, and he said that it's the best racing that he has ever done, with Jesse Butler being fair, clean and consistent, and that he had a lot of respect for the way Jesse drove the car, even though he was on the losing end of it, that he really enjoyed the racing, and I'm sure he thoroughly enjoyed it, but at this point in time leading the race, he's probably not disappointed that he doesn't have that small margin for error. So just check in a little bit on the points here. Dave Johnson, who is second in the GT3 category, is still sitting there in 8th position in class, 19th outright, and with Ryan Porter in 3rd outright and Brad Klink just behind him. Ryan will close the gap to 3rd place, and Brad will pretty much maintain his lead there at the top of the table, probably extend it slightly. So going into the Enduros, he'll be relatively comfortable at the top of the table there. We've got Purnell coming up on the back of Josh Maynard, who does do the right thing and move over out of the way and just let Chris through. Thank you very much, Josh. You've done that an excellent job keeping an eye on that all night. We appreciate it. Just done 5.5 minutes to go. Just going to bring our race leader in the GT3s up on the screen here, Reece Grant. Give him a little bit of airtime as the leader of that category. And might just jump on board with him for a final look as he starts a new lap around the track here in the dark, just in the Audi. And so there you go. That's what it looks like from inside that Audi, and the drivers will be spending a lot of time with that as they go overnight around this track. He's just going to make way there for Jesse Butler to go through, which is great driving from Reese as well. So certainly a welcome addition to the series, and a great drive from him tonight to look reasonably set to take home the race win in the GT3 class. We're just going to jump on here. Braden Nash still coming. 3.7 seconds off the back of Jesse Butler. So Jesse Butler there, you can see, is a little bit further up the road. He is highlighted on your track map, the yellow bordered circle, and Braden Nash is the green circle just behind him. So Braden just got to negotiate the GT3 winning or leading car at this stage. So we'll just jump on with that and see how close that is. And in fact, what I'm going to do here is we might just jump up into the chopper there. So Braden just giving a flash to Reese. Reese will know what's going on there, and we'll make room for him as he does. This fantastic Phoenix window tinting car is making its way towards the back of Jesse Butler. 2.7 seconds. I think, however, this will be our last lap of the race. So I think Braden may well get beaten here by the clock rather than anything else. Dave Johnson making way there for him, which is typical of Dave. Thank you. And we've got 2.45 seconds as they enter bus stop. So we will have one last lap for him to be able to make up 2.3 seconds. I'm not liking the chances, to be honest. Unfortunately, I think he's just going to potentially get beaten here by the clock as we see him try and bridge that gap, but I think it's going to be too far for him to get it done at this point in time. So head on board with our race leader, Chris Purnell, as he goes around to complete what will be the last lap of this race. He's just about halfway through this lap as we head towards the end of this race. Still 2 seconds between Butler and Nash, so I think, unfortunately, Braden is going to get beaten by the clock, barring any sort of issue there. We've just had as well, seen that Ryan Porter has dropped down to third in class for the GT3s. So Reece Grant's still leading that one. But that pack there opening up a little bit, and it's still going to be a Reece Grant victory in that class as well. So Chris Purnell here just coming up on the lap traffic here of Jason Muscat in the Audi. He may not quite catch up to Jason before the end of the lap as he comes up into the bus stop. The lights illuminate glowing red in the background there of that car, and he will bring that across the line to take out his first win in this series. So congratulations to Chris Purnell for his race win at race 5 or round 5 here at Spa, and he will be absolutely delighted to get that one across the line. Jesse Butler's going to bring it across the line in second. That's a good recovery for him as well. So the gap to the championship is just stretched out to a massive 2 points. Braden Nash bringing home third there. A solid result for him after an issue in the pit lane. We'll find out what that was as we get through this one. Just bringing home these last GTE cars as Brett Douglas there just makes his way through on the car of Todd Gibson, and he is going to bring it home in fourth outright. And again, the duck still sits on his back. He will be spewing. He hasn't managed to bring that home on the grid. My apologies. He'll be spewing. He hasn't brought that home on the podium. Jaden Sweeney going to bring this around in fifth. We've got Chris Purnell just circulating around on the small screen there. I'll just leave him up on the small screen. Jaden Sweeney's going to bring this one around. He's got just about 10 or 15 seconds to go on that lap. Tomo a fair way behind him, so as the drivers bring it around to bring this one to its conclusion. So we will bring you the final results once they come up. As Jaden Sweeney slows it down, no doubt he will give us some of his burnout sensation as he normally does at the end of this race. So stick around for a little bit of the smoke show. We are just gearing it up. Oh no, maybe not. Okay, so we will bring in our drivers here. They've actually jumped in to the room. G'day, Braden. G'day, Chris and Jesse. Chris, congratulations on your first win. How was the race?
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, I'm pretty happy, to be honest with you. I thought it was going to be a bit close there with fuel for a little while, but yeah, it paid off in the end, and it was awesome. I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, we were watching your pit stop closely. Actually, we sort of noticed after you'd done your pit stop that the Porsches were a little bit longer than you, and wondered whether it was tyres or whether it was that you managed to save some fuel. So, did you take tyres? Is that what the difference was, or how did you what happened there?
No tyres. The thing is amazing here. It's probably the only track that the Ford actually drives nicely. And yeah, it just looked after its tyres. I think after the first stint, I'd used 15% or something like that. So I knew I was easily going to be able to go again. So yeah, so no tyres. And then, yeah, it was line ball whether I was going to half fuel and go long like Brett did, which in hindsight, he's probably kicking himself a little bit for it now, but he drove awesome and he built as a rocket car this week. So big props to him anyway. And yeah, it's been awesome to see.
No, fantastic, and certainly congratulations, as I said, on your first win, Jesse. Mate, we were looking to see whether or not you were going to be that half a second astray of Chris all night, and it just didn't pan out for you that way tonight. How did you find the race?
Yeah, it was a tough one. Kind of played the same kind of strategy that Chris did. Didn't take tyres in the pit stop. I think I only used about 15, maybe 20% all around at that first pit stop. Big props to Lee for helping me out with fuel numbers and whatnot. It was just a massive fuel save for me the whole race, and then towards the end there, I just didn't have the pace to kind of bring that back in when I didn't have to fuel save. But no, massive credit to Chris. Once again, I thought Braden was going to come and get me, but I was kind of hanging on for dear life there. But no, it was a great race. Congrats to Chris. Thanks to Lee and Mac 1 for the help this week.
Well, I can tell you now, it's 2 points going into the team enduros. Thought for a while there Chris was going to run a completely clean race. It wasn't to be. So so we're going into next week with a 2-point margin between you at the top of the table. So it's going to be on, which is going to be great for us to see. And Braden, what happened in the pits, mate? You had a much longer pit stop than everyone else, and you were coming back. I reckon 3 or 4 more laps, and you would have been all over Jesse there. What ended up happening with that?
Yeah, I pushed it a little bit too far and ran out of fuel just before the hairpin in the pit lane. And I was just going to clutch it down the hill, but ended up pressing the brake instead of the clutch and screwed myself over there.
That explains it. We wondered because the gap was just too big, and Jesse was 10 or so seconds longer than the Fords with the fuel strategy. We now understand that, and we'd wondered what might have happened there. So that's disappointing. You drove a cracking pace as usual, mate, right out there in front. But still bringing it home in third, which is a good result. So heading into the longer enduros.
Thank you.
Excellent. So we'll just try and find the GT3 guys and see if they're about for a chat. Just bring Michael in to have a chat with us. If we get Ryan in as well. G'day guys, you've just joined us live on the air just to have a chat about the race. We'll just bring Reese in as well. Reese, congratulations on your win if you're there.
I'm here.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much.
A well-driven race, and you guys had some close encounters, but you did run away with it a little bit at the end there. How did you find it?
Yeah, it was a bit sketchy at the start. I was just talking to Spud there about the overtake at the start. I thought maybe it's a bit of a dive, but he said it was all right. So, yeah, then unfortunately he spun behind me, a couple of other close calls, and I was able to get away with the lead. A lot of fuel saving at the end as well.
Just to get it through to the end. Well, you drove really well, and it was certainly entertaining for us. The battle there with the guys behind you. Michael, second place for you there, and you had a little incident, unfortunately, but still managed to bring it home in second, which you're sure to be happy with.
Yeah, I am. It's a fun run this week, but yeah, I had an unfortunate little touch with my teammate Brad when I wasn't trying to do that.
Yeah, it does happen. Unfortunately, we were on board when it did happen, and it just unfortunately probably change of conditions might have just caught you out a little bit there. But still a strong race from both of you. Brad obviously had his issues coming into the race with computer setup and that, so you obviously worked together and had a really great race for us, which was good to watch.
We had massive fuel save, and we're trying to we just did a 5-lap swap between each other's fuel save, and then just literally went for it.
Yep. No, it will be interesting to see how that you guys go. Obviously into the next 2 weeks. It's going to be good to see, and obviously sponsored by Bow Repairs there as well, which is fantastic for them to jump on board with you guys and give you that support. So well done on the second place, and another good showing for you. Second week in the series. And Ryan, again, likewise for you, mate. I didn't manage to get caught up in anything again this week, which was great, and managing to have another strong finish.
Yeah, mate. A little bit disappointed actually, just because I had the 52-second tow because I ran out of fuel on my first stint, just coming down the pit lane. But sort of fought back in the second stint to try and catch Michael and Brad. And then ran out of fuel again just across the line. So I was saving like crazy, and Michael was coming up pretty quick and made a few mistakes, but he was definitely quicker each lap. But yeah, got to take a podium, another podium. So yeah, happy with that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that moves or will move you up, if not into third, very close in a third position in the championship going into the Enduros as well. So, a good outcome for you as well. So well done on another good drive and entertaining drive this week.
Thanks, Stuart. Cheers.
So that just about wraps it up for us for another week of the Australian Endurance eChampionship finished here at Spa. So we will be broadcasting for you from the Spa 24-hour as our 981 Motorsport team take on that event. It is an uncommentated event. I might drop in and give you some words as we get through that, but I will also be driving, which I am looking forward to. So do join us on the stream. We will be there over the night and looking forward to that one. And next Thursday, we aren't on with the Endurance Series. We are moving this to a Saturday afternoon for the longer races. So Saturday afternoon with a Indy car spectacular to set off that event. in another iRacing first for our channel, followed by the 4-hour team event at the Nürburgring next Saturday, commencing at around about 3 o'clock for the race start for that one. So with the championship close, it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. So don't miss out. And as usual, a massive shout out and thank you to our official channel partner, Aftershock PC. If you are after a new computer, then Aftershock is the place to go. Simrigs.com for their support. Virtual Motorsport Mentor. Razer, as well as we are an official Razer streaming partner. And of course, to everyone who has joined us tonight, thank you very much for supporting our channel, and look out for more content from us over the remainder of the week. Hope you've enjoyed watching. We've certainly enjoyed bringing it to you, and we will see you next week.